Goose, DirtyDan, and Simon are away again this week. So we present another flashback episode from May 5th, 2021. We hope you enjoy.
I have come here to chew bubblegum.
You're listening to Here to Chew Bubblegum, recorded from a secret location in the city that moves mountains.
Greetings, we come in peace.
Hello everyone, I'm Goose.
I'm Cronkite.
And welcome to Here to Chew Bubblegum. Thank you very much for tuning in. It's been a while, Cronkite.
It has.
We've been on kind of a mini vacation.
Yeah, without the vacation part.
Well, I mean, and it's felt different and odd the last couple of Sundays not to come in and record the show.
It has been, but it's also been kind of welcome as well,
Yeah.
Catch up on some activities at the home place.
Now, honestly, have you missed coming in and recording the show?
Absolutely.
I have. I'm going to be honest. It's like, I've not seen my best friend. I'm not talking about you.
No, of course not.
I'm talking about the show.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't want everyone to think that I like you or anything.
No,
just
further from the truth.
Yes, I just tolerate you.
I just want everyone to know that we are recording now, or not recording, but we're live streaming now on Station Head.
Yes.
Is that correct?
That is correct, sir.
So the audience can interact with us. Just watch for our Facebook page. Hit the like notifications or whatever. Turn on your notifications for our Facebook page. And whenever we are going to go live, we will. You'll be informed, I suppose.
Sounds good to me. We're going to jump straight into some listener email. Last name Sloan says, "Hey Goose, Cronkite, Ned, and Elliot, the last few shows have been great. With UFOs in the news and taking center stage pretty much everywhere, I think people are waking up and finally seeing what has been kept secret. Shows like yours are real. They entertain and educate. Thank you all and keep it up, Roswell."
Well, thank you there.
And we do have some actual, after the emails, we do have some UFO stories.
That's exciting.
So,
well, all I've got is conspiracy stories this week.
okay.
I'm sure you'll like them, though.
Oh, yeah.
Ratliff says, have you guys ever watched Aliens in Alaska? It's on the Discovery Plus app. If not, you need to check it out.
I have not watched that.
I haven't either.
I've not heard of it until he emailed that.
But we are always looking for new shows and new topics to research and check out.
Was Aliens in Alaska.
Aliens in Alaska.
I will definitely check that out. Let's see. Larry says, "Hey Goose and Cronkite, what are your thoughts on the recent stories about the UFO UAP? You turn on the national news, local news, and newspapers. The story is everywhere. The story is out there. I think the top is about to explode and the information that's been hidden is about to come to light." And Larry, I totally agree with you. It seems like everywhere that you tune into nowadays, they're talking about the recent videos and pictures. Mm-hmm. And I just can't wait to the June, when they do the disclosure.
When they finally come out with everything, yeah. I mean, that's going to be exciting, and I'm looking forward to that. I'm trying to stay optimistic, but I feel like it's probably going to be a big another CIA letdown where it's going to be like,
But there's pictures and videos out now, and they've said these are unknowns. We don't know where these came from.
No, and what I mean is they could be saying something like, yeah, these things exist. We don't know what they are. We've never captured one. We don't know what it is. We've never reverse engineered anything. And that is going to break my heart.
well, they might not do that, though.
You never know. They might.
That is true.
So Mike says, "Hey, Goose and Cronkite, I love the show. I live in your area. Have you guys ever thought about inviting fans of the show and going out to watch for UFOs? I think it would be fun." Roswell.
We've never thought about that, but that is a really good idea.
Yeah, it really is.
And that was from Mike.
That's from Mike, yeah.
Thank you, Mike, for that recommendation, and we will probably be doing that
Yeah, I mean,
at some point.
that sounds like a good time. I always wanted to have well, not always. I haven't really had a party up on the hill since I was a teenager.
No,
but
we're not going to be doing that. We're going to be UFO watching.
Sure. I got you.
Wendy says, "Hey guys, I know that you don't talk politics, but I do think that former President Trump knows highly classified information on UFOs and that he will share it after the June disclosure date." Roswell.
I think he knows. However, I don't think he will disclose it. I think he's going to make the very government that's hid it from us disclose it.
You know, I'm going to be honest on that question. I find it hard to believe that he's kept it secret. And it could be where he got banned from Twitter and Facebook and all the other social media.
It could be, but it also could be, hey, if you don't come clean by June 1st, then I'm gonna spill the beans. You never know.
I could see that.
Yep.
I could see that.
Let's stay away from politics. Lisa says, have you heard about the Horton 239 aircraft? It was made in the 1940s and way ahead of its time. If you've not heard about it, look it up. I've heard about this aircraft.
I have too, and I have looked it up. Fascinating.
Yeah, definitely.
Fascinating. And that is something that we'll probably talk about on the Roundtable show. And this was made in the early 40s.
Right. Yeah.
By the Nazis. Mm-hmm. And where they got this technology from, I have no idea. I have a hunch that it came from the
Black Forest.
From the Black Forest crash that happened in the 1930s.
Definitely.
But I mean, we don't have technology in our Air Force today that matches what this thing could do.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Adam says, "Hello, here to chew bubblegum. If you were involved in an alien war, what would be your go-to song to charge you up and get you going? I'll listen for your answer." Roswell.
Sabotage.
Oh, by the Beastie Boys? Mm-hmm. Really?
Yeah, either that or Interplanetary.
I think I would go with Shoot to Thrill or Welcome to the Jungle by Guns N' Roses.
Those are both good ones.
So, those get me pumped up now. So, and, I blame the Dukes of Hazzard movie, the AC/DC Shoot to Thrill. If I'm driving and I hear that song,
100 mile an hour.
I automatically want to lay the gas to it.
Here's the thing.
Go.
Oddly enough, there is a song that gets me pumped up, beyond all pumped, and it's not even... Have you ever heard Brass Monkey by the Beastie Boys?
Yeah.
There's nothing to that song, but it
that funky monkey.
I'm ready to go.
Are you so you're a really big fan of the Beastie Boys?
I wouldn't say really big fan. Like, I don't know all their songs, but I like their beats and their shouting.
Fight for Your Right to Party was a good one.
It definitely was.
That's probably my favorite one.
Is that the only one you know?
No.
Okay.
No.
Dixon09 says, "Hey everyone, I just wanted to say that I really enjoyed the Ingersoll Lockwood special. Please keep us updated on any new discoveries or developments, Roswell."
We will 110%. Also, there's a lady on our TikTok page that became a follower, and she's posted some really good videos of the Awakening Map. Have you heard of the Awakening Map?
I have not.
Her name is Rebecca Short, and I contacted her earlier, and she's going to be on the podcast hopefully within the next two or 3 weeks. And don't let me forget, and after we get done recording, we need to sit down and pick out a date and time where we can interview her and have her on the show. Because this map, and I showed it to Ned earlier today, it is incredible, the Awakening Map. And I'll show it to you during break. We're going to jump in to segment 1.
Exciting.
UFO cover-up. You know the government doesn't cover up stuff, do they, Cronkite?
What are you talking about?
What?
They don't.
What?
They only have our best interest at heart.
Yes.
They only tell us what we. They only give us good news all the time.
Well, this is a lengthy story, but I'm not going to read the whole thing. This was recently posted in the New York Post, I think. UFOs exist, but the government doesn't want you to know it, according to the ex-Pentagon official who says he ran the program investigating unidentified aerial phenomenon, or UAP. Recalling when he recognized that UFOs were real, controversial whistleblower Lou Elizondo exclusively told the Post, "Oh my gosh, it's real. Well, crap, now we have to do something about it." That was his That was his saying when he found out about it.
Yeah.
However, Elizondo has not been able to get the feds to act on what he describes as a serious national security risk due to roadblocks that include the cover-up of the existence of UFOs because religious objections, concerns over tarnishing its own reputation, and the fear of inciting public riot. Now, you know what I find interesting about that? The second thing that he says, concerns over tarnishing its own reputation, which means if the government comes through now and they say, yeah, they're real, that's going to tarnish them. That is why I believe 110% they changed it from UFOs to UAP. Because they can say, we always said UFOs didn't exist, UAPs do. And they've already said that UAPs do.
Right, but here's the thing. So how would that tarnish them? Just that they lied to the American people, that they lied to the world?
Yeah.
But at the same time, we get lied to all the time for national security or for national security threats or reasons or whatever. So, I mean, where would there's a fine line there, right?
Without talking politics, look at the state of the world right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, and they come through and they say, yeah, we've been lying to you all these years. Mm-hmm. What's going to happen?
I have no idea. This is a new territory for all of us.
What do you think would happen? It's not going to be good for the government.
No.
Okay.
Not at all. Well, I mean, it's the government is already on shaky legs as it is.
Yes, it is.
So, I don't know. I really don't know. It terrifies me to think. Keep politics out of it, Goose.
With a bombshell government report on UFOs set to be released before the end of June, Elizondo says he came into the Pentagon's Advanced Aerial Space Threat Identification Program in 2008 and headed that program from 2010 until 2017. He has revealed the shocking things he alleges to have learned and the chilling reason why some in the Pentagon don't want this information made public. As part of his job, Elizondo said he had access to the Pentagon's UFO data and interviewed military eyewitnesses who encountered UAPs on almost a daily basis.
Oh, wow.
Meanwhile, Navy pilots, there we go, Navy. Mm-hmm. Navy pilots have testified about engaging 50-foot tic-tac-shaped vessels only to see them disappear in the blink of an eye. Other pilots said fighter jets had a near collision with strange spear encasing a cube object. Elizondo said all of this evidence, including radar and electro-optical data that showed unknown aircraft zipping 60 miles an hour in 5 seconds and descending at speeds of 14 miles per second. Despite those mind-blowing discoveries, Elizondo was always swimming upstream. He tried to share this frightening evidence with closed-minded non-believers who shunned his research, which he has compared to an intelligence failure on the level of 9/11. Oh, wow. Elizondo allegedly pushed his superiors, which include General James Mad Dog Mattis, to take his findings seriously. He also claims senior officials blocked him from informing Mattis and reassigned him from the Pentagon in frustration. Elizondo never stopped investigating UFOs and publicized what he found, even though he is no longer in Washington, D.C. Power players are due to share details about the reality of such UFOs via the much-hyped tell-all report. He says it's going to be vindication for himself and others in his camp.
Wow.
So, and the article goes on, and like I said, you can find it in the New York Post.
Sure.
That's just the basic, he's, and there was a lot of people that criticized him when he first came out, I've watched his videos.
Yeah.
And I can tell when somebody's lying to me. He does not seem like he's lying. He does not seem like he's stretching the truth. He seems like he's being 100% honest and sincere. Have you saw any of the videos?
I have not. No, most of the stuff that I look up is in text.
Okay. Well, why don't you read us some of the text that you have there?
Well, I'm going to keep right on going along with my. So Elliot Spooky writes in.
Okay.
He says, "Is this the show with the puppet?" So I responded back, "No, shut up."
Oh yes, it is the show with the puppet.
All right, so I'm going to keep right on going with the airplane crash conspiracy?
Yes, go right ahead.
Have you ever heard of United Airlines Flight 553?
Yes, I have.
Okay, what do you know about it?
What you're getting ready to tell me.
Alrighty then. So it was a cold, quiet afternoon in Chicago with an inch of new snow on the ground when a massive Boeing 737 came crashing through the trees. The plane clipped the roofs of a couple of bungalows in Chicago's West Lawn neighborhood before plowing into the home of Veronica K. We'll just call her K.
Veronica K.
Yeah, killing her and her daughter, Teresa.
That's a terrible story.
It is a terrible story. Well, it's not a story, it's fact.
Well, I'm glad you didn't start out first.
Oh.
What a way to bring our listeners down.
Let's see if you can figure that one out.
Okay.
So one of the people killed was a woman named Dorothy Hunt. Dorothy was the wife of E. Howard Hunt, a former CIA officer who was working for then President Richard Nixon. 5 months before the plane crashed, Howard had organized the bugging of the Democratic Party headquarters in Washington, D.C., an event that later became known as Watergate. At the time of the crash, he was under arrest for conspiracy. According to some, there was as many as 11 other people on the plane with ties to Watergate. For that reason, and because $10,000 in cash and cashier's checks were found in Dorothy's luggage, a lot of people think the government sabotaged the plane. In fact, there was a newspaper clipping article that headline said, "Sabotage brings down plane," which is wild,
right?
You know. So, before you dismiss this as another outlandish conspiracy theory, let's hear the evidence, right?
Yes.
So, despite a bit of snow on the ground, it was a clear day in Chicago, and there was no apparent reason for the plane to crash. The plane's pilot had 18,000 flight hours under his belt, yet the plane crashed almost 2 miles from the runway. Do you know how long 18,000 hours is?
A long, long time.
That is time spent not on the ground, but literally flying in the air.
Yeah.
So to say that this man was a experienced pilot is an understatement. The FBI arrived at the crash a little too quickly, a lot like TWA Fly 800. We talked about that, right? And according to some, cordoned off the plane for a brief period while they rummaged through the wreckage. What were they doing there? Why were they there so quickly? You know what I mean? So Sherman Skolnick, a prominent legal researcher from Chicago, supported the theory that the government meddling was responsible for the disaster. In 1973, a few months before the crash, Skolnick testified in front of the National Transportation Safety Board. Excuse me, a few months after the crash, not before. National Transportation Safety Board, or the NTSB, that the FBI had conspired with United Airlines and air traffic controllers at Midway Airport, where the plane was supposed to land, and the NTSB itself to bring down the plane. Not surprisingly, the NTSB was not super receptive to this theory. You know, he's testifying in front of the NTSB and saying, "You guys did this." I mean, how's that going to go?
Yeah.
So Skolnick believed Dorothy Hunt was carrying documents that could have led to Nixon's impeachment, and that Nixon had orchestrated the crash to silence her forever. Now, this wouldn't be the first time that, I wouldn't say silenced, but definitely we do know that that the government has tried to discredit some people.
Yes.
And I'm sure people have been silenced. You know what I mean?
Well, you can't blame the FBI for stuff like that.
That's speculation at best.
That's Cronkite speculation. Remember Cronkite, Cronkite.
Quit throwing me under the bus, Goose. Skolnick also speculated that the cash found in Dorothy Hunt's luggage was hush money from Nixon, intended to silence people with knowledge of Watergate break-in. So the Chicago Tribune is the one who actually posted a picture of the plane crash. You can see the tail of the airplane. Of course, the rest of the plane's burned up. You know, it's just the tail section is all that survived.
Right.
And it ends actually the one that had sabotage brings down plane. So, Skolnick may sound crazy, but he had a degree of credibility from having dug up information on 2 Illinois Supreme Court judges who accepted illegal bribes. His investigation caused both judges to resign. In other words, he wasn't some random wacko. The NTSB didn't buy Skolnick's story. They did an investigation into the crash of United Flight 553 and found pilot error was to blame. In their report, the NTSB said the pilots were fussing with the Futzing.
Fussing. Sounds like a typo.
Yeah, I'm not sure. With the aircraft's flight data recorder, which wasn't working for some reason, instead of properly preparing the plane for landing. This is, from what little bit that I know about aircraft, keep in mind, I'm a certified idiot. So
Right.
if there are,
Well, and your face is getting red too, so it sounds like to me that last statement is really getting under your skin.
Yeah, this is getting under my skin. You have a 737, a major aircraft, an airliner with hundreds of people on it, and you're telling me that something as trivial as messing with a flight data recorder, that's not ever going to happen. In fact, I'm going to call BS. I don't have to go any further.
Right.
I'm calling BS on this
Right.
because no experienced pilot is going to just stop flying the plane 2 miles from the airport from touching down at 150 miles an hour with 300 people behind them to mess with the, they're not going to do it.
No.
It's not going to happen.
No, it's not.
But no accounting of a Flight 553 conspiracy theories will be complete without Chuck Colson. So I don't know if you know who Chuck Colson is, but he was an aide to Nixon and believed that the CIA sabotaged the plane. Colson may look like a madman character who could sell water to a well, but he was actually a powerful government operative who worked as an advisor to President Nixon. Colson told a private investigator in 1974, 2 years after the crash, that he thought the CIA deliberately sabotaged the plane in order to kill Dorothy Hunt. Colson's theory was that Dorothy was killed to cover up a story about the CIA spying on members of Congress. This was supposedly part of a grand plan to take over the country. I mean, this plane crash gets thick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So of course it sounds crazy, but remember this was an educated, well-positioned man, and his allegations about the CIA foul play were printed in Time magazine. Looking into this story in 2017, it doesn't look very plausible. Gary Fine, a sociologist who studies conspiracy theories and collective memory, told during a recent phone interview. But when the plane crashed, the Watergate scandal was at its most heated point. It wasn't clear who Deep Throat was or where any of his information was coming from. Suddenly, you have a flight in which 12 people connected to Watergate were killed. You might start to think, wow, this is really strange. Can this be merely a coincidence? There's no such thing.
No.
There's no such thing as a coincidence like that. And then you have to think about then they spit in the pilot's face. They spit in the American airman's face by saying these professional pilots were messing around with the flight data recorder. Stop.
Wouldn't that be an FAA violation?
Of course it would.
So
he would lose his license.
Right.
Immediately.
Why would you do that then?
You wouldn't.
Exactly.
No one would.
Exactly.
No one would. In fact, the very bottom of the level private student first plane flight ever in their training series knows you fly the plane first, then you deal with whatever's wrong.
Right.
I'm a little heated.
Really? No.
I'm a little heated. Now I don't believe a government agency is behind the crash of 553 on that cold December afternoon in Chicago. Now this guy's trying to say that it wasn't. Listen, from what I've read of this, I don't buy that.
It makes your blood boil.
Yeah, I don't buy that one bit. I don't think that the pilots crashed that plane. I think that there was something else that happened to that plane. It has to be. I mean, it's a really big conspiracy,
right?
A really big coincidence if it's not true.
Yeah. Well, we got a few minutes here before we have to take a break, and I want to tell you about some UFO fragments. This was recently in the news.
Okay.
Former Nevada Senator Harry Reid, once a major leader in the Democratic Party before his retirement, has claimed that defense contractor Lockheed Martin may have had fragments of a crashed UFO in its possession. Reid, age 81, told the New Yorker that he had never actually seen proof of the fragments, but in his effort to get Pentagon approval to find them. Reid was a longtime senator from Nevada, the home of the military airbase Area 51, long rumored to house UFOs and even live aliens. I was told for decades that Lockheed had some of the related retrieved materials, the Democrat told the media outlet, and I tried to get it, as I recall, a classified approval by the Pentagon to have me go look at the stuff. They would not give me that approval that I needed. I don't know what the numbers were, what kind of classification it was, but they would not give it to me. Reed was interviewed as part of the New Yorker story on the government probes into UFOs. A government report is expected in June that will further detail what the U.S. government knows about UFOs. What's your thoughts on that? He was a senator, long lifetime senator from Nevada, Area 51, and he could not get clearance.
Well, yeah.
Yes, okay.
I mean,
now,
why?
now, if there's nothing there,
Mm-hmm.
why not give the guy clearance?
You know, that's a good question.
I'm going to be honest. I was always skeptical about UFOs. I thought that they were possible.
Mm-hmm.
When we started doing this show, I still thought I've always thought something happened at Roswell.
Mm-hmm.
That was a total made up story.
Yeah.
And I still think that.
Mm-hmm.
About, I don't know, maybe 4 months ago, I started seeing, even with the stuff they put out last April, I started to change and sway of being like, no, they're real.
Yeah.
They're here. We've known about them for a long time.
100%.
And you can ask me now, they're real. They're here. We've known about them for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see how anybody can look at all the proof in today's time and say, no, there's no such thing.
Ignorance is bliss. And if you don't want to see it, you're not
going to.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm always the type of guy that tries to look at the evidence. The evidence is there. They do exist, and they are real.
Right. But going back to the senator not having clearance, you have to think, though, a lot of the secrecy that our government has used has been with the veil of national defense. And Area 51 has been a huge development center for aircraft and who knows what else for decades.
You're right.
So yeah, I mean, I could see that. I mean, the F-117 stealth fighter came out of there. The B-2 bomber came out of there. Who knows what the Aurora, supposedly.
Right.
So,
well, we're going to take a break and have Ned Said and Elliot's articles, and we'll be back in just a few moments. You're listening to Here to Chew Bubblegum. Thank you very much for joining us.
It's now time for Ned Said on Here to Chew Bubblegum.
Cows moo with regional accents.
Researching the inner workings of the net to bring you stories of the strange and unusual. It's Elliot's articles on Here to Chew Bubblegum. Take it away, Elliot.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you are listening, wherever you may be listening from. This is Elliot from Elliot's Articles on the Here to Chew Bubblegum podcast. Today we've got a pretty good story. I'm going to let my spooky family take over and lead the way today. I'm going to try to sit out and not speak at all unless I am spoken to, and even then I'm probably just going to go, uh-huh, or nuh-uh. But let's take it away, Beagle. What's the story and where did you find it at?
All right, so it's going to be Spring Heel Jack today. And this is coming from Weird, Kentucky. It was by Jeffrey Scott Holland. Just so if our viewers don't know, Weird Kentucky is a fantastic book to pick up on. It's got a lot of other different stories into it, just all about how strange Kentucky really is.
Be like the ultimate road trip book if you lived in Kentucky. You can just kind of plot it and follow along.
Especially our family has made many plans that have fallen through involving the book.
Thanks, pandemic.
The spooky family.
Yeah, thanks, COVID.
Thanks, COVID-19.
But we're not here to talk about COVID today. We're here to talk about the legendary Spring Heel Jack. Now, in 1837, a frightening humanoid decked in all black, leathery cape, and equipped with bat-like wings and pointy horns. Listen, we've talked about this before the podcast. Let's just let it go a little bit longer, and we're just going to let this be on the nose for a little bit.
It's not Batman.
It could be Batman.
Oh, it's not Batman. Please, let's just leave it at it's not Batman, and I'll live a happy life.
All right, you know what? It's And nowhere in the article will it say either that it's Batman.
It's going to say that he inspired. I know what it's going to say.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, if you haven't read it.
Come on, guys. I mean, leave my heroes out of this.
Okay. We definitely want to leave your heroes out of this because the next thing it says is allegedly began assaulting women in England. It's away from here. Don't worry about it.
Is it away from Is there a large body of water that separates us?
Yeah. Later on, the article is referred to as the pond.
Oh, yes.
The big pond.
The big pond.
The big pond.
The strange rogues myth grew into an enduring legend, with reports of sightings being quite common throughout the 19th century. Some people say the creature was ultimately the inspiration for Jack the Ripper and comic book characters such as Beep. What do you think the beep was?
Superman.
It was definitely Superman because he can leap over in a single bound.
Yes, exactly. It wasn't Batman at all.
It was not. We don't say that.
No.
Sure.
Still others have noted the resemblance to the legendary Mothman. Now that's the interesting part of this.
That is, for us, that's the interesting part.
Is it just like because of the dark shape, and I guess perched on high places, and
so it's a dark figure attacking people at night with gigantic wings.
Was there red eyes reported too? I guess. Or?
Well, so I couldn't find anything about it having red eyes. Spring Hill Jack.
Yeah.
But later on in the article, when eventually, supposedly, there is a similar entity in Kentucky, specifically in Old Louisville.
Oh, okay.
He had some type of light emanating from his chest.
Awesome.
So
Tony Stark.
So let's move on to that part. I know. It's always fun. I know. We're nerds. We're super big, super nerds.
So
we're nerds in the mountain.
I will say,
yeah, that's a really good podcast, by the way. It's on YouTube and other places too, but YouTube especially. Yeah. Look up Nerds in the Mountain, and if you like it, tell them the Spooky Family sent you.
Yeah,
and that they're wrong. DC's bad, and Marvel's better.
Marvel's better.
Yeah.
It usually gets a rise out of them. So could Spring Hill Jack, whatever he was, have sprung his way across the big pond of Kentucky? I like that. I like that whole thing.
Yeah, I do too.
It was like a dad joke. So researcher Jim Brandon, everybody knows Jim, Jim, big Jim. Jim Brandon tells us reports that he has found from 1880 describing a tall, thin weirdo that appeared out of nowhere and began a terror campaign in Old Louisville, frightening the locals and ripping the clothing from females in the streets. What's his deal?
Man, listen, like, maybe, he was a tall, thin weirdo. I don't, he's going to do whatever weirdos do.
Weird things. Of course he's doing his thing. I don't want to say it again just because it's so, he does it all the time. Eyewitnesses describes his superhuman ability to escape by jumping impossible distances and springing over objects as tall as horse-drawn carriages, leaping and climbing away to safety on rooftops, which sounds a lot like Bat.
Yeah.
Okay. This creature was described as wearing a cape and a helmet.
You got to protect yourself if you're on the rooftops.
But having an eerie glowing light emanating from his chest, like I was describing earlier.
Okay, I've got some theories, but we'll wait.
Okay. The description of his outfit seems to oddly match the British entity version of him, I guess. Which one major difference being the light emanating from his chest.
Well, yeah.
But we can also deduce that the creature... see here, I'm kind of lost. Sorry about that. The creature appeared in outlying farms as well as downtown, because one sighting has him jumping over haystacks and completely disappearing on the other side of one. Now, I'm assuming that's meant for us to understand how tall haystacks are because we're from Kentucky.
Yeah, I get that, but I think what you're supposed to take from that though is like haystacks are usually out in an open field. And if he can jump over top of one, okay, that's pretty impressive. But if he can jump over one in an open field, and then when you go to find him, he's no longer there, where did he go? You know what I mean? I think that's what that's leading us towards.
There's just a very small little thing left at the end here. I just want to get this in real quick before we kind of discuss. Even stranger, the Louisville Courier-Journal reported that on July 28th, 1880, the very same day the jack-like person began his attacks, many citizens downtown spotted a tiny open platform craft of some sort flying through the air.
Okay.
It flew low enough that they could see that it was being piloted by a seated man surrounded by machinery, which he operated with his hands and feet.
I mean, yeah. So what all? Let's look at this case. Let's break it down. First of all, we have some. By the way, did he go by Spring Hill Jack here in Kentucky? Did they give him a name?
Well,
I don't know if he spoke a lot as he was ripping bodices and jumping over buildings.
I'm Spring Hill Jack. Mwah.
The entity here, see, they just speculate that the entity that's here, where he was so similar to the British, which was actually named Spring Hill Jack. So technically, the one in Kentucky is either like maybe a Spring Hill Jack imposter or something else entirely, or it's him just.
So I looked it up.
Okay.
Just now, that's why I was on my phone, and apparently he's called the Demon Leaper of Louisville. The Demon Leaper of Louisville.
Ah, okay. So
yeah,
the Demon Leaper of Louisville is basically.
I would have called him the lascivious Louisville Leaper myself. Triple L.
Gertie, say that 5 times fast.
No.
Thanks,
There's
Gertie. Thanks,
There's
Gertie.
no way. There's no way I can do that.
There's no way.
You're awesome. I'm still mad at you. All right. So none of our listeners know why, but trust me, I have every reason to be mad.
Yeah.
But let's talk about this for a second. Let's break it down. So let's go around the room here. First of all, he has of course he's got a lot to do with, or look like Spring Hill Jack, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And we know that Spring Hill Jack supposedly influenced another murderer in England, Gertie.
Batman, when he went to...
Batman was a murderer in
the United
England?
Kingdom?
Well,
what
Maybe.
version of Batman are you referring
been
to?
a lot of
it's like I
versions
don't
of
even
Batman.
know you all anymore.
You all?
Why are you dragging me in
Why
this?
did you do that?
I don't know. Because you brought it up.
That's true.
I think you're talking about Jack the Ripper.
I am talking about Jack the Ripper. So Jack the Ripper, he's got a lot to do with that. And Jack the Ripper is involved in all kinds of different conspiracies involving the royal family, the Freemasons. He's involved with. He's also
He was
supposedly
an impressionist painter too for a while. They thought maybe.
and supposedly there's a chance, like a small chance, that he may actually be an American that we talk about sometimes when we talk about serial killers, and that would be had a hotel, H.H. Holmes.
Yeah.
So he had a hotel. So I mean, there's that. There's that
very,
connection.
very famous.
Then, you bring up the fact that he looks a lot like the Mothman. And so I want to mention the cool thing about that article is it mentions that he was in some kind of flying machine at the end there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, we're talking 1880. 1880. Like, there's not that many flying machines at all, especially in Kentucky. Are we talking about a UFO maybe? Like a UFO
Possibly.
case of some sort? Although it did say he was running it with his hands and feet, so
Yeah.
I don't really know about that. But, I mean, there's all kinds of connections there. And you're right, that the light in his chest, I mean, who's to say that if he is some sort of weird, like, steampunkish, like, assassin of some sort, that he doesn't upgrade those to goggles later on, and we've got red eyes, and he ends up in Parkersburg. Louisville to Parkersburg is not that big of a leap if you're going across the Ohio River, down to getting down to the Kanawha River and all that good stuff.
But I'd say he traded in his ability to leap.
It's like 80 years.
Well,
I mean, if he's,
I'm sorry. How long do immortal
if he's
assassins
humanoid,
live?
I don't know.
Like it could be anything.
Have you played too much Dishonored?
I have.
Okay.
That's a good game.
Steampunk assassin.
Big old nerds. That's us.
Like we said, yeah.
But
one of the things I find it is that he just decided to, like you said, I guess stop leaping and use those wings if he truly became the Mothman.
Well, I mean, if he's already got a flying machine of some sort, like how he might just integrate that into his costume, and now he's Mothman.
No idea why this comes to mind, but every time I think about Spring Hill Jack operating some type of flying machine, I think of Wild Wild West.
Yeah, I actually know it looks a lot like the spider. Like I think about
That's steampunky.
the spider.
I guess that's because of the genre that we're referring to. Like,
probably.
kind of.
But this is, I mean, let's break it down even further. This is just an interesting case. I mean, you hear about this stuff in fiction all the time. And I'm not saying that this isn't fiction, but I am saying that you never hear about this in Kentucky, especially 1880s Kentucky. You know what I mean? Like, the scariest thing in 1880s Kentucky around here were we had some ghosts and a bear or two. You know what I mean? Like nothing. Disease. That was pretty scary. We didn't have a flying machine involved bat dressed man slashing people. You know, that's our first one of those, I guess. I hope.
Yeah. Or
That's what you think.
yes,
Big was
that's
like,
what we
I
think.
don't know, man.
There could be more.
There could be more. I mean, there was a cannibal in Big Stone Gap, so
Did he have a sidekick? Kind of like a robin?
if he might have,
Some kind of bird.
oh, like a cardinal in Louisville. Oh my! We're putting it all together now.
It's all coming together.
It's all coming together now. I don't know, guys. What do you think? If you're out there listening, give us an email. Tell us what you think about the Demon Leaper, the lascivious Louisville Leaper,
Spring Hill Jack.
Spring Hill Jack. Maybe H.H. Holmes and a flying machine. Who knows?
You know.
Give us an email at you can put attention Elliot or attention Gertie or attention Beagle, I guess, at here to chew bubblegum at yahoo.com. And Cronkite and Goose will get that to us. Do you all have any shows that you want us to do? Do you have anything that you want us to cover that's Kentucky-based? We will gladly do that, no problem. Give us an email and let us know. You have been listening to Elliot's articles on Here to Chew Bubblegum. Dear listeners, please stay vigilant. Elliot and the Spooky Family.
You can
out.
always call, text, or leave a voicemail for Here to Chew Bubblegum. 606-373-3396. You can also send an email to goose at heretochewbubblegum.com or cronkite at heretochewbubblegum.com.
And welcome back to Here to Chew Bubblegum. My name is Cronkite. That man across the table is Goose.
Hello.
He doesn't have any feathers on today.
I never have feathers on.
He has shedded his feathers for the summer. Welcome to summer weather, my friend.
It's not summer yet. It's still spring.
It feels like
Summer will not be here till June 21st.
Yeah, 20 days after disclosure.
So, now, there's been some controversy on it. Is it going to happen June 1st or before the end of June?
I thought it was the 180 days ends on June 1st.
Okay, well, keep your fingers crossed. Hopefully it will come sooner than later.
Yeah.
I'm going to start out this segment by talking about document 6751.
What is 6751?
Have you ever heard of this?
I've not.
Okay, you're in for a surprise. A single-page memo dated March 22nd, 1950 by Guy Hottel, or Hotel, Hottel, a special agent in charge of the Washington field office regarding UFOs, is the most viewed document in the FBI vault, our online records of public records where you can look at those that have been released through the Freedom of Information Act. The file has been viewed nearly 1 million times, yet it is only a single page, relying on an unconfirmed report that the FBI never followed up on. The subject of the memo was anything but ordinary. It related a story told to one of the investigators by a third party who was an Air Force investigator that reported that 3 flying saucers were recovered in New Mexico. Now, it just so happens I have a copy of the memo,
Okay.
and I am going to read it to you. Some of it has been redacted, but not a lot.
Right.
Maybe like half a sentence and a full sentence and the name
Yes.
of the informant. And it says the following transmission was furnished to SA, then it's redacted. An investigator for the U.S. Air Force stated that 3 so-called flying saucers had been recovered in New Mexico. They were described as being circular in shape, with raised centers. They were 50 feet in diameter, and each was occupied by 3 bodies of human shape, but only 3 feet tall. They were dressed in metallic clothing of a very fine texture. Each body was bandaged in a manner similar to the blackout suit used by speed flyers and pilots. According to blank informant, these were found in the New Mexico due to the fact that the government had a high-powered radar set up in that area, and that it is believed that that radar interfered with the guidance control that controlled the saucers. No further evaluation was attempted concerning the above matter. Now, when they described what they were wearing, there was an invention that came out after Roswell discovery, and that was Kevlar, body armor,
Yes.
bulletproof stuff. And that is where a lot of people think that is where that technology came from, as that's what the aliens were dressed in. And,
Very cool. Now, did these saucers crashed?
yes.
And
Yeah.
no survivors?
No, there was let's see here. They were dressed, each body was bandaged in a manner similar to blackout suits used by speed flyers and test pilots. It doesn't really say if any of them survived. But New Mexico, this report was made in 1950, less than 3 years after Roswell. So that is the Roswell crash they're talking about. But this was never followed up on by the FBI. The FBI only occasionally have been involved in investigating reports of UFOs and extraterrestrials for a few years after the Roswell incident. Director Hoover did order his agents at the request of the Air Force to verify any UFO sightings. And this information came from a investigator for the Air Force. That is where this information came from. I've always said something happened in Roswell. There's just another nail in another nail in the coffin of what happened at Roswell.
I wonder if that could have been a similar craft that crashed at Roswell. Perhaps they were looking for that crash?
I think it's the same craft that happened at Roswell.
You're going to have to explain.
All right. This report was made in 1950. Okay. This investigator from the Air Force waited 3 years before he told the FBI this.
So there was 3 saucers.
Yes.
So they think that. So you think that Roswell had 3 separate crafts that crashed there?
Yeah. And if you follow some stuff down a rabbit hole, that's what a lot of people think. That there was more than one craft. And the reason that makes me say that is why I think they're connected and they're the same story. Is you can look up Roswell, and the way that they're describing what they're dressed in is the exact same thing.
That's interesting. I've never heard that.
Now, the document 6751, that's just the memo.
Right.
That whole report is like 70-some pages. And I've glanced over it. I've not dove into it, but I did read the memo, and that is what it says.
Wow.
So
that's pretty cool.
Thank you, my friend. What else do you have for us?
Well, I'm going to talk about a little-known boat called the Titanic.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of it?
I think I've heard of that.
Yeah. So just to kind of give some background information on the RMS Titanic, which sank in the early morning hours of April 15th, 1912. It was 4 days into its maiden voyage from Southampton to New York, the largest ocean liner in service at that time. Titanic had an estimated 2,224 people on board when it struck an iceberg around 11:40 p.m. On Sunday, April 14th, 1912. Her sinking 2 hours and 40 minutes later at 2:20 a.m., which would be 5:18 GMT.
Right.
I'm not sure what the G stands for. On Monday, April 15th. It resulted in the deaths of more than 1,500 people, making it one of the deadliest peacetime maritime disasters in history. Titanic received 6 warnings of sea ice on April 14th, but was traveling at 22 knots when her lookout sighted the iceberg. Unable to turn quickly enough, the ship suffered a glancing blow that buckled her starboard side and opened 6 feet of her 16 compartments to the sea, all 3 holds in boiler rooms 5 and 6. Titanic had been designed to stay afloat with 4 of her forward compartments flooded, but no more. The crew soon realized that the ship would sink. They used distress flares and radio messages to attract help as the passengers were put into lifeboats. Into lifeboats. In accordance with existing practice, Titanic's lifeboat system would be designed to ferry passengers to, this is important, ferry passengers to nearby rescue vessels, not to hold everyone on board simultaneously. Because I always thought, I was like, why would you not have enough rescue boats for everyone?
Because it was the unsinkable ship. They didn't think it was going to sink.
Well, but this also explained just now that if it were going to sink, that I guess they thought that there would be enough traffic in the Atlantic Ocean at the time that the lifeboats could ferry them to rescuing ships and not hold everyone at once, which is poor planning at best.
Yes,
at
it
best. So, therefore, the ship sinking rapidly and help still hours away. There was no safe refuge for many of the passengers and crew, with only 20 lifeboats, including 4 collapsible lifeboats. Poor management of the evacuation meant many boats were launched before they were completely full. So, are you aware of the conspiracy surrounding Titanic?
Some of them I am.
Okay. So, in 1902, the White Star Line, which was the owner of the Titanic,
right,
the Olympia, and the Britannic.
Yes.
Yeah. In 1902, the White Star Line became property owned by International Mercantile Marine Company, or IMM, a holding company bankrolled by famed financier J.P. Morgan. With Morgan's permission, White Star Chairman J. Bruce Ismay began work on what came to be known as Olympic-class ships. Excuse me. If they couldn't match the Lusitania's speed, Olympic-class ships would outclass Cunard ships. They'd be even bigger, more luxurious. 3 ships were commissioned: the Olympic, the Titanic, and the Britannic. The Olympic was first to be built and was the line's namesake. It was considered its lead ship. Its maiden trip was widely heralded as its first few voyages were unqualified successes. But on just its 5th voyage, the vessel ran into some serious trouble. On September 20th, 1911, while passing a military vessel, the Hawk, the Olympic made an unexpected turn. Caught off guard, the 2 ships crashed. The Olympic was able to limp back to port, badly wounded. A trial would later hold the White Star Line responsible for the incident. After the crash, conspiracy theorists claim the Olympic was an economic disaster. The lawsuit meant repairs would not be covered by insurance, and it was drawing no money while sitting around the docks. So the company made a switch. Its newly built 2nd ship would take on the name Olympic, while its damaged older ship will be repurposed to be the Titanic. See where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
Eventually, the true Olympic, now secretly operating as the Titanic, will be scuttled in an accident from which the White Star Line could collect insurance money, payment befitting a brand new ship, all while the ship originally built as the Titanic would have lived on. The only thing that ruined the plan was an iceberg. Other conspiracy theorists claim that a more nefarious reasoning for the sinking, J.P. Morgan was behind the switch, eager to use the inferior ship to drown his enemies aboard. I mean, he's like he's a super villain.
Yeah. What?
I will drown you.
What's your take on that so far?
So far, I don't know. The early 1900s were some screwy times.
Yeah, but have you ever heard the one that there was supposedly like a mummy that they were hauling in the cargo area that was supposedly cursed on the Titanic?
I have not.
I don't know if that's true, but I have heard that before.
It's possible, and it may be in this article here because there's a lot of conspiracy surrounding it. So proponents of either theory point toward a number of clues. The Titanic didn't allow for public examination before its voyage, out of fear it would be found out to be by experts to be Olympic in disguise. And then there are the portholes. A recent popular Reddit post examines pictures of Titanic under construction and Titanic on its first voyage. It finds that the second picture is suspiciously changed and close to the Olympic. There is a plethora of other details. For example, separate claims point toward the argument the Olympic lies at the bottom of the sea instead of the original Titanic. So
they think that the Titanic still exists today. It's just...
Oh, well, no. I mean, the ship that would have been Titanic, I think it went out of service in 1930 or something like that. It was ultimately scrapped. But this is, so the theory is, I think I've read somewhere before that there was a fire also in the boiler room
of the Titanic,
and I think that has actually become more believed that when it actually struck the iceberg, it flooded, and once the ice cold water of the Atlantic Ocean hit the boiler room, there was a fire in the coals. Of course, the only way to put the fire out at that time was to just keep shoveling it into the boilers, make more speed, blah blah blah. But once it hit that those hot coals, of course it flash boiled, and it caused an explosion, which ripped out parts of the ship, which ultimately sunk it.
Let me ask you a question. They're supposed to be building the Titanic too, and it's supposed to set sail on the same route the original Titanic was on.
I will not be on that ship.
Would you buy let's say somebody gave you a ticket. Mm-hmm. Would you travel that route on Titanic too?
I wouldn't, and here's the reason why. If I didn't get seasick, I probably would think about it because it would be cool. But I get seasick just watching water. I like flying. I don't like floating.
Okay. Have you ever been on like a cruise ship?
No.
Okay.
For that reason.
Most cruise ships aren't that bad. You do have, if you hit a storm, it will be a little rocky. Mm-hmm. But so you don't think you could, if somebody gave you a free ticket on Titanic 2, it was going the original route that Titanic did. Let's say you didn't get seasick. Would you go then?
I probably would. Yeah.
Okay.
It's 2021. Chances are they're going to be watching that boat like a hawk. So hopefully, if it does sink, somebody will be there pretty quick.
Well, but that's some what ifs there. I don't think that I would. I don't think I would.
It's a once in a lifetime event. You have to.
No, I don't.
You have to.
No, I don't.
Plus, it would be some excellent Here to Chew Bubblegum material.
Well, you can go do it for Here to Chew Bubblegum.
I get sick.
Let me share something with you real quick before we wrap it up here.
Okay.
Do you know who Judith Love Cohen is?
I don't.
Okay. She was an American aerospace engineer who helped in the guidance system which was used to the Apollo 13 mission to bring the astronauts safely back home. She went to work one day. She went to work the day her son was born. She took a printout of the problem she was working on to the hospital. She called her boss to let him know that she solved the problem. That same day, she gave birth to Jack Black.
Jack Black? The actor Jack Black?
Yes, that was his mother.
What?
Yes, that is 100% real, 100% legit.
That's amazing.
Yes, it is.
That's a pretty cool story.
Yeah, it's very cool. But
I did not know that.
Yes. I want to thank everyone for listening. You can always call, text, or leave a voicemail.
At 606-373-3396. You can also email us, Goose, at Here to Chew Bubblegum at HereToChewBubblegum.com.
Yes.
Sorry, I screwed that one up.
Cronkite at HereToChewBubblegum.com.
You can reach us on our website, www.HereToChewBubblegum.com. You can also hit us up on our Facebook, our Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. You name it, we got it.
Before we go, I want to say special thanks to Carlin for all the voiceover work, CK, Uncle Bill, and the rest of the gang at deadpit.com, T-Shirt Joe at FastCustomShirts.com, Everyone, be sure to check out Talk Junkie with our friend Justin and Down on the Holler with Jordan, Brad, and Jordan. That'll do it for this week. We'll see you next week, and until then, so long for now.
We'll see you.
Thanks for listening to Here to Chew Bubblegum. Tune in next time as we dive deeper into things the government doesn't want us to know.